Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the listeners of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. Welcome to episode 94, where I don't know what we're talking about because this is something that was written completely by Jason. So therefore, I'm going to have to introduce him to the show. Jason, how are you doing? Please tell me what we're talking about today.
We're going to talk about MAPPA, man.
Oh, what? Really?
And we're going to talk about
the biggest anime studios and something we've already talked about before. What's going on? Why are we talking about MAPPA?
No. Well, we have not talked about really MAPPA before, but we are going to talk about Studio Madhouse, and we have talked about that before.
Wait, aren't they the same? Isn't MAPPA just Madhouse?
You see, man. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
You
would think so.
How unknowledgeable and uncultured of myself, right?
Well, no worries. I'm here to guide you along the way, just like I will guide you along, dear listeners. Of course, Will is pulling your leg. Of course, he knows what we're talking about. And we are definitely doing to talk about MAPPA and Madhouse. This is probably one of those episodes that is like, is it a redux or not? I thought, Jason, you said like you and Will are kind of done with studio analysis of sorts. Well, guess what? We lied. And you're just going to have to deal with it. And probably you're going to want to listen to it anyways, because this is a really good episode.
I certainly hope this doesn't fracture our relationship with you, the listeners, and the fact that we're lying to you about not doing certain things. Look, like we're
humans.
We're humans. We're also trying to think about stuff that we want to talk about. And this happened to be something that has not really been discussed over the last 3 years. We have talked about like sort of handovers of IPs, talking about changes of an anime production based on which studio worked on it.
We talked about Madhouse having a resurgence throughout with Frieren and everything. So you have heard us wax lyrical about that. MAPPA, overworked, underpaid. You've heard about this before, all of it, but you've never heard of it in one go, in one sitting, on a specific GAP episode. And guess what? Episode 94 is just that. So, Will, you ready?
Let's go over the history of MAPPA.
Did you know that MAPPA is actually an acronym? I did not know that.
I did not know either.
Just like how PA Works is called Progressive Artists Works. Oh, no, Progressive Artistic Work or something like that. I was like, okay, sure. MAPPA is actually an acronym. Did not know that. The acronym is Maruyama Animation Produced Project Association.
What the fuck?
So, MAPPA...
I'm not shitting you at all. I had no fucking clue that MAPPA was an acronym.
I did not know that either until
I'm guessing that if the name of a studio is all cap, then that must mean it's an acronym, right? Like with PA. So is it even called MAPPA or is it MAPPA?
I don't know.
It must be MAPPA, right?
We call it MAPPA. Everyone calls it MAPPA.
PA works. I'm shocked actually that it actually means something.
But what you're not shocked is that it was founded in 2011 by Studio Madhouse co-founder and producer Masao Maruyama. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear that name time and time and again because he is a big shot not only in the anime and manga industry, anime industry, but obviously his relations and lineage to Studio Madhouse, which we talked about. So, for reference for everyone, Studio Madhouse is an episode that we did long, long ago, episode 11, where we kind of went over the history of Studio Madhouse. And since then, a lot has changed in terms of Studio Madhouse as well as their trajectory going forward. On the other hand, MAPPA also has sort of changed public perception, I would say several years ago versus nowadays. Even though I would argue their output is quite different. What's up, Will?
Holy shit. Episode 11 came out 3 years ago. Fuck.
There you go. So, MAPPA HQ is in Suginami, Tokyo, Japan. And obviously, we mentioned Studio Madhouse. What's its connection? Is because a lot of veterans there ended up transferring to MAPPA, and obviously the co-founder of Studio Madhouse, and now is the head of MAPPA Studios, Masao Maruyama. And how it happened was due to financial difficulties at Madhouse at the time. Maruyama and Katabuchi established MAPPA in hopes of producing a certain film. And that's essentially how it started off. I mean, things like, I think MAPPA also had some co-productions with Madhouse that I will go into later. So it's not like they left on bad terms. It was just kind of like an offshoot doing their own thing. And then obviously, since then, MAPPA has kind of established itself almost like Madhouse back in the day, or like a Studio Dean back in the day, of like this huge corporation that is so good in terms of pumping out anime productions. So here is a very simple illustration of how awesome MAPPA is in terms of scale. MAPPA has 5 studio divisions. MAPPA Tokyo Asagaya's first studio, MAPPA Tokyo Ogikubo second studio, third studio, Sendai studio, and Osaka studio.
So I'm guessing with like second is just the fact that it's 3 studios in Tokyo, 1 in Sendai,
and 1 in Osaka. But still, 5 studios is kind of insane.
Wow, they're keeping everything within central Japan. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, because you have Tokyo on one side, then you have the west of Osaka, and you have Sendai in the east.
So what's in the north?
The north would be like Hokkaido, Sapporo.
But they don't have one.
Like I would feel bad for anybody who has to work as an animation director up in Sapporo because it's so fucking cold there. What they really should do is actually open up a studio down south, like in Kagoshima or in Miyazaki, or even like Fukuoka. It's so chill and so nice out there.
I like Fukuoka a lot.
Maybe that's the reason why it's too chilled there. It doesn't instill that hostile kind of...
You just can't do shit there. And then in the north, it's like it's so cold you can't do shit there either. So we just have to settle with the east and the west. The number of employees there as of April 2024, according to Wikipedia, is 408.
That's a lot of people.
But that is also, by the way, not including freelancers that comes in and out, which is obviously a very big factor in a lot of anime productions.
Which makes it even crazier, the fact that you have 408 staff members. I'm not going to say it's like split evenly between all the studios, but on average you would see anywhere from 60 to 100 staff members per studio.
I mean, to my knowledge, like Science Saru or others is like 20, 30. I think Studio Trigger is like 10 or 12. And then every time there's a major production, then they'll add more people. And then obviously they'll downsize again. I mean, that's just the way it is. Even with video game productions, which I think is very similar in vein, unfortunately.
Yeah,
in this case.
You either like get freelancers, you get contract workers that work the duration of that project.
Or you just get laid off due to financial difficulties, which is inevitable for a lot of these studios, unfortunately. So, since Masao Maruyama has since stepped down as CEO of MAPPA, and the successor is MAPPA anime producer Manabu Otsuka. So then Maruyama-san has now become the chairman of MAPPA, and the Otsuka-san is now was a founding member and former employee of Studio 4 Degrees Centigrade, or 4C. And now he is the CEO, and still is. So, now that we have given you the past history of MAPPA, I think we should spend some time talking about the obvious thing, which is the current iterations and history of MAPPA as it stands now.
Yeah. So MAPPA has been running for 13 years, and in terms of anime productions, there's a lot. But just to sort of run you through the stuff that they've been doing in the last couple of years, they've done. They will be have done Rama Half, Buchigiri, Campfire Cooking, Another World of My Absurd Skill, Hell's Paradise, Vinland Saga Season 2, Chainsaw Man, Dance Dance Dancer, Tapped Off Destiny, fuck you, that was shit. The Ida 10 Deities, No Only Peace, Remain, that also sucked. Zombieland, Saga Revenge, Attack on Titan Season 4, and all the other shit that came afterwards. Jujutsu Kaisen, Gymnastic Samurai, Mr. Love, Queen's Choice, God of High School, Listeners, Dorohedoro, Grand Blue Fantasy the Animation, Zara Sanmai, Kakaguri XX, Banana Fish, Dororo, Zombieland Saga, Inuyashiki, Kyakuri the First, Yuri on Ice, Days, Ushio and Tora Part 2, Punchline, Terror and Resonance, Hashino no Ippo Rising, TQ 2, 3, and 4, and then Kids on the Slope. A lot, dude. And a lot of them are really fucking good, too.
Will, you have been unsubtle about your affinity for Studio MAPPA. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And I would also think that it's fair to say that a lot of people, when they hear Studio MAPPA nowadays, have one of two opinions. That when they are behind an anime production, they are in safe hands. And the employees are not in safe hands.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. So there recently has been a lot, and I mean a lot of problems with MAPPA Studios. in regards to being overworked, underpaid, and undertrained. Now, is this phenomenon a new phenomenon? Absolutely fucking not. That happens everywhere. It shouldn't. Crunch time is a thing, even though it shouldn't. And I, along with Will, and probably a lot of people, would love to see animators being paid fair for their work, as well as not being overly stressed or pressured or just overworked to the point of exhaustion and sometimes, unfortunately, death. So, that being said, it's undeniable, though, that MAPPA... I mean, wasn't there was a meme that was like JJK... like a picture of like the head of MAPPA Studios or like a director and his like the eye bags of JJK.
Yeah.
It was just like, it just looked horrendous. And the guy just looked like he needed sleep.
I think one of them superimposed that guy's face on Eren Yeager's, and it's like, show me the difference. Corporate wants to know. And then it's the meme from The Office. It's like, they're the same picture.
Yeah, the same picture. Like Stephen Carell's being like, no, it's the same. Look, let's talk about a specific year, because 2021 is known for some people as the 2021 MAPPA incident. And why is that important? Is because in 2021, I think shit hit the fan for Studio MAPPA, and a lot of things happened. First of all, a lot of series was produced at the same time in 2021. We're talking JJK Season 1, which was 2 Curs, AOT Season 4, Zombieland Saga Revenge Season 2, Remain, The Edaten Deities Know Only Peace, and Tact Op Destiny, that was co-produced with Studio Madhouse.
Now, before that, in 2020, they were also working on 6 properties then, which was Uchitama, Have You Seen My Tama, Dorohedoro, Listeners, The God of High School, Mr. Love, Queen's Choice, and Gymnastic Samurai. Though I would say that the biggest of those series would have been Dorohedoro, followed by God of High School. When you're talking about 2021, I mean, you're talking fucking Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen, 2 of the biggest shonen series of all time.
Yeah.
And to work on them concurrently as well.
Yeah. To the point where, according to Screen Rant, which is a popular website that talks about a lot of like movie productions as well as anime news and stuff like that, episode 14 in Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 was a huge drop-off from the usual high-end quality of the previous anime. Some panels were taken straight from the original manga, and there are multiple scenes where the animation wasn't even completed. Sung-ho Park, who was the director of this show, who later on I think quit and did something else, I think, right? Apologized for the rush and the bad quality of the animation. Fans and critics do not blame the director and animators, but they blame MAPPA as a whole due to toxic work environment. But the problem doesn't stop there, because in early November, episode 17 was aired with only 30% completion, yet they aired the episode and the show continued.
Well, I mean, there was still good news at the end. The second Cur of Jujutsu Kaisen still managed to get nominated for Anime of the Year. So, hey, I guess it still worked out in some way.
Right. And you might be saying, listeners, hey, you were talking about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1. What about why you're talking about Season 2? Well, the thing is, guys, when they produce stuff, they usually overlap before they even announce stuff. So, come on. They knew that they were going to make Season 2 before they announced it. So they had pre-production, things happening as they go, because they have to keep the momentum going and the train going. So they already have stuff in the pipeline. It's not like the moment something ends, they just start on another thing, unless if that's how the scheduling works.
Oh, don't forget as well that not only did we have Jujutsu Kaisen, the TV series, that year, we also had JJK Zero, the prequel movie, come out that year too.
Yeah, and what's wrong with JJK Zero? Well, the movie itself is a very good movie that I think everyone should watch, especially if you like JJK. However, it was reported that JJK took 4 months to make. And to put this into perspective, a standard 30-minute anime episode generally takes at least 1 month to finalize for broadcast, says Hone, a staff animator of Jujutsu Kaisen.
So let's say a single Cur of anime on average takes 1 month, 1 episode, right? That's a whole year. With this movie, what they're essentially doing is condensing like
half a Cur, right? Because like 2 hours, right?
but in 4 months.
In 4 months.
So how are you going to be able to cut down those 2 extra months? How do you reduce the amount of time needed to work but still maintain the same level of workload and or not even maintain, actually increase the workload but maintain the efficiency and the completion rate? Ugh. That's some math that don't really math well.
Does not compute, and you're talking to 2 Asian people, so trust me, if the math does not compute, the math really does not compute. You know what I mean? Okay, so you might be like, hey, listen. So they had rush productions. That always happens, right? Delays of episodes. This is not the first time other studios have done that or delayed, and they have to slot in a special or a recap. So what's the big deal? It's MAPPA we're talking about. Look, they have been doing this just like everyone else. It sucks, don't get me wrong, but you shouldn't just point the finger at Studio MAPPA. Everyone else is doing it, right?
That's always an argument that I absolutely hate hearing, where it's like, hey, I might have been caught doing something illegal, but it's not like the only person that's doing something illegal. It's like, yeah, that doesn't like fix the problem.
Yeah,
though.
stop redirecting blame.
Yeah, that just exacerbates it. When you accept and try and normalize fault, failure, and incompetence, at that point, like, you just set the standard so low that we can no longer put trust and faith into the project if you're equating yourself as, I'm just like the everyday man, when you just did some not everyday man shit.
And also, it's like you're cherry picking. You're playing favorites and preferential treatment, because what you're essentially saying is, yes, MAPPA is doing the same thing, but MAPPA gets a pass when these studios don't.
Yeah, like who gave you the authority to say what you can and can't do?
And also, don't get me wrong, all of us included, you listeners probably, are not working in the industry. And just like Will and I, it's so easy for us to sit in our chair, wax lyrical about how this is not right and whatnot, but we can't really do much about it, so then we therefore don't do anything about it.
Though if you do work in the industry and you're not tied to an NDA and would love to talk about it,
please let us know.
Yeah,
it would be super cool.
We would love to interview
you. We would love to interview you. We'll try to make sure we fulfill any of your demands, because we would really like to have an insider scoop and knowledge as to how everything works beyond what we can glean from the outside. But thankfully, or unfortunately, we don't really need to do a lot of that, because a lot of MAPPA employees, named employees, by the way, not anonymous sources, have spilled the beans, gone on social media, or make public statements. And this is the thing that is like really shocking to me, Will, because you have to understand that, dear listeners, that in Japan, a lot of things are kept under wraps. A lot of things are hush hush, don't talk about it. Especially when it comes to airing out your dirty laundry or airing out your grievances. So for all of these employee accounts that we're going to talk about, they are not only non-anonymous, so they are named, but they also do not hold back. And on top of that, to my knowledge, again, who knows if they actually got punished or not get punished, but there seems to be, like, rather than, repercussions for spilling the beans, it's more like, no, this is really fucked up. We're trying our best, but we're still going to do what we're doing, but we're really sorry.
I think it's just the dam is about to break, where people just can no longer, like, hold any reservation about something, and I just spill it all out, right? Like, thank fuck for Twitter, except that, I don't really like Twitter all that much as a platform.
Oh, no, sorry, X, you mean?
Well, it's written in the docket.
Yeah,
Twitter.
I know. I'm just shitting.
I'm not
just
calling
joking.
it X. Fuck X.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, we haven't even said the accounts yet, but like, whenever there is like a disgruntled employee, rarely do you ever see somebody like actually go on social media and just air it out, unless they're like in high positions. Like, you see it with like specific government entities. You see that with like a big company,
or like
employees.
a CEO, or like a manager,
or somebody that wants to talk shit about a CEO. That happens, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, you don't necessarily hear it that often. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of Japan, but like generally, I feel like Asia is one of those places where like if you have any differences or disagreements, you either keep it to yourself, or you discreetly discuss it with a supervisor, with HR, whoever.
Or you unceremoniously resign and just
say whatever you want afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Or actually just don't and just stay away, because generally when you air out your dirty laundry, it tends to have a rippling effect on yourself, because good luck trying to find a second job or a third job in the industry when you so blatantly kind of criticize people. But to our knowledge, at least based on the accounts that I'm about to read, they are still employed, or they are still like
Connected, right?
Connected, so that it is very odd when this sort of stuff occurs and then the repercussions of it is actually one of acceptance and apologeticness, yet they don't change.
Let's go over the first account. Let's talk about Ippei Ichii.
So he first opened up about money issues on Twitter, claiming that animators are being offered bottom rates on the production of Netflix's animes made at MAPPA. I think this was talking about, again, I might be misquoting, but it's talking about Yasuke in particular. Because it was done by MAPPA, I think, right?
Yep, on Netflix, yep.
Yep. So then this is reported by Anime News Network. So he says, a producer working on Netflix anime made at MAPPA.
By the way, these are translated from Japanese to English, so there may be some mistranslations, but hopefully this is as accurate as what actually was said.
Yeah, and at least it will paint enough of a picture for you to kind of fill in the blanks or know enough such that it won't be misconstrued. So a producer working on Netflix anime said at MAPPA suggested paying 3,800 yen, so $34 US per cut. The budget for TV series is between 3,800 to 7,000 yen. So if you accept that offer, the unit price for animators would go down. Heads up, if you are asked, I think it's best to negotiate for 15,000 yen, $134 or more. And then I'll go on. He then clarified, to avoid misunderstanding, I have to say that my issue is with Netflix. For all exuberant amount of capital they have, it's a problem that they've started to place orders at such low rates. There is a possibility that the prices are even lower than a TV series. So when you hear that, on top of the fact that he is saying that, hey, usually it's about 3,800 yen, but you should ask for 15k yen, already that number, you can look at it in two ways, and both of them are bad on MAPPA and Netflix's behalf, okay? First of all, when you look at something that is 3,800 and 15,000, the gulf of proportion between the two is massive.
As a negotiation practice, especially since I used to work in the field of recruitment where I had to help people try and get a bang for your buck offer or like a contract, I can see the logic behind it, because you know that the other company is not going to offer you 15,000, but you also send a message to the other company saying, I am not going to be toyed around. Please give me a serious offer. By giving such an unserious number of 15,000, the only way is down. But how far down will you go? Surely it's not going to go all the way down to 3,800. If you can then meet in like around the ballpark of like 6,000 to 7,000, which would be on the higher end of what a budget would be per cut, I think it's a sound negotiation. Again, you don't want to rock the boat too much and just straight up say a number that you know you're not going to get. But maybe this person's done enough to be like, I know how this works. I am confident that if I was to accept anything lower than X amount, I am doing a disservice to myself. And therefore, I want to be able to get more money, not because I want more money, but because I want to be paid fairly.
Right. And the other thing that I want to mention is it says per cut. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, because is it per cut as in like per cut iteration of the series, of the episode, per cut as in like a revision? Do you know what I'm trying to imply?
Yeah.
Like it's unclear, because technically $34 US is a very small wage. So then therefore it has to be like, is it a rate, right? Like per cut, and how many cuts do you make in a month or whatever? Like I'm not, here's the part that is like unclear. Maybe in the Japanese it's more clear cut. Again, no pun intended, in terms of what do they mean by per cut. Because when you look at the TV budget is between 3,800 and 7,000 yen, that's no way the budget. Is it that the budget per animator who does per cut? So then actually there's a lot of animators, so each of them have that amount times, 30-something animators, right? Who knows? Regardless, that number sounds wicked low. And sure, I don't know what does per cut mean, but if they're being underpaid, I can just tell you $34 US per hour or whatever is not a good I mean, it's obviously more than minimum wage, but like any way you slice it, especially when you consider how much rent is in Japan or in Asian countries, it's just really bad.
Especially like if you're talking about MAPPA and the majority of their studios being in Tokyo. Yeah, for sure. The other thing I wanted to sort of highlight as well is this person was airing their grievances specifically towards Netflix.
Yes.
So with Netflix getting into the anime game, and we've seen so many of those Netflix originals or, like a Netflix shows, even though they didn't really make it, they're the one who licensed it. And to allegedly give such low ball offers, is it just like a pure example of corporate greed? Like the simplest sort of idea that they're just trying to get the most bang for your buck? Or is it also just maybe Netflix not really knowing the value in anime and like rather putting more money into live action productions instead?
Yeah. I mean, there's a very good chance that that's happening. Or maybe when, Ippei says, for all the exuberant amount of money that, or an exuberant amount of capital that, quote, Netflix has, they said but they mean by Netflix. It's a problem that they've started to place orders at such low rates. I mean, yes, Netflix sets a precedent, but maybe that's because either A, they don't know, which I find it hard to believe because they've at least been doing it for more than several years with a lot of productions, so they are probably lowballing people. But also it's a bit, how do I say, and I don't really want to disparage Ippei's statement here, but Netflix having a exuberant amount of capital is probably true, but how it's distributed is probably less obvious than just seeing one big number.
Yeah, you might be thinking like, oh, but they're handling so many productions. They're handling not just anime. Of course, they're doing live actions, they're doing documentaries, they're doing movies and stuff. Of course, it's gonna be hard to stretch their budget. Well, over COVID, and also with the password crackdown that Netflix was doing, so far in 2024, their net income has jumped to $2.3 billion.
Right.
It's a fuck ton of money, and you're saying that like you can only afford to pay $34 per cut? Like that sounds outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, even that, if you go up to 15,000, like, okay, fine. Like $15,000, 15,000 yen is like roughly $160.
Yeah, when I wrote this down, you have to keep in mind that this was currency at the time.
Yes,
so if you count inflation nowadays, which is probably like several years ago, right? Because this is 2021 that this was reported.
Yeah, like right now it would be like $100 US for 18K, but like back then it'd be easily 150 to 160 US dollars.
Yeah. Wait, inflation, so it would be higher now, right? Than 130.
Well, you also forget that the yen is super weak right now. So
oh yes, that is very true. Actually, yeah, they did bounce back a bit, but then it caused a big issue. But that's finance talk that is not like privy to us.
Let's just say that Netflix have had record profit years.
Yes, and animators are having record lows in terms of being paid.
I think it's also just the fact that like with every major hub, every major city in the world, a livable wage that people are getting is not catching up with the actual necessary wage that people are getting. In terms of like your spending power is low, inflation is up, interest rates have gone up. A lot of things are working against you to be able to make a salary that you can say is livable.
Yes.
And so therefore to be said, like, I don't know how long it takes to do a cut. Let's just say you're getting paid like, I don't know, per hour, per 2 hours. $34 is crazy. And I hear people saying like, oh, that's like way above minimum wage.
It's like almost like 2 times minimum wage.
But you're also not handling animation. You're not handling art. You're not handling drawing. You're not handling superimposition of words and syncing up audio of all this shit put together. You're making a movie. You're making a TV series. Yes, you don't have actors and stuff, but you still have voice actors. You still have work to do in terms of putting color to screen and bringing like still images to life. Like it's a lot of work.
And generally, by the way, if we go by 30 frames per second, that's 30 frames of drawing. Sure, you can copy paste most of it, especially if you use digital, but that's still a lot of work. Don't forget, you're assuming that the first cut is going to make it when you have revisions, right? Which you're definitely going to do, or last-minute changes and stuff like that. Or you worked on this, and all of a sudden, the director or someone creative or someone from on high is like, I don't like this, redo it. Then you have to redo it. I think the pointing the finger at Netflix is very appropriate, but I do not know if it's because they don't want to insult MAPPA because they work for MAPPA.
That's definitely a factor.
So then pointing the finger at Netflix is like an easy, obvious target. But also, don't forget, Will and I talked about production committees and how Studio MAPPA, with the exception of Chainsaw Man, which we're going to talk about, MAPPA only gets a lump sum of money from production committees. And from that lump sum...
I'm absolutely MAPPA's culpable in this.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like they don't have like complete blame either. Because when they get that lump sum, they literally have to figure out scheduling, producing, paying, and profiting from that lump sum. Unless if they ask more, which already is a bit iffy at that point, right? So it is not to give a pass to MAPPA, but it is not to only point the finger at MAPPA is sort of what I'm saying. And the fact that Ippei Ichii kind of purposely said it was Netflix's problem is like, yes, but I also know what you're doing by avoiding MAPPA in the equation.
I mean, do you think that's why they have so many employees? That a lot of them are underpaid?
Maybe. But maybe they need that many people. Who knows?
So then, if they have that many people and they need that many people, would it be crazy to even think about just giving them a little bit more money? Like, let's say not even like 7,000 yen. Let's say like 5,000.
No, man. Apparently not. Because, and you might say, okay, that's a MAPPA employee. Freelancers have it worse, right? Well, you're kind of half right, half wrong. Freelancer animator Zad, Z-A-Y-D, commented, I guess is a pseudonym, the usual 4,500 yen per cut is already bad enough. What is Netflix thinking allowing them to pay less than the average? So here you have a freelance animator already also pointing the finger at Netflix, not at MAPPA. And I believe that that is a little bit disingenuous, only slightly, right? Because I think MAPPA deserves a little bit of the blame too. But again, at the end of the day, Netflix is the one fronting the cash. So therefore, to be honest, they should get most of the blame there.
Yeah, but it seems that there's another animator that actually wanted to put more focus on MAPPA.
Yep.
So in May, there was a freelance
May of 2021.
Yeah, of that year, that tweeted that they left MAPPA due to the quote-unquote factory-like conditions. They criticized MAPPA's decision to work on 4 shows at the same time instead of properly training its team so that such corrections wouldn't be necessary, and said, as far as I can tell, about 80% of employees had similar complaints at the time. So, you know, that director wasn't the only one with eye bags under their eyes. Like, everybody there, 80% of them, it seems like they were enduring some sleepless nights just to be able to get all these anime series out.
And okay, you might be like, oh, 80%, that's a lot of that's the majority of people, so it is like a company-wide problem. I'm like, yeah, that's precisely the point. It's not because there's 80%, so then therefore we should not worry about it because everyone suffers through it. Have you ever thought that maybe everyone suffering through it is already a bigger problem than one person suffering through it? I mean, both are problems, but one is on a different magnitude, right? Then you go, okay, Jason, what about other people? Here is MAPPA employee Hokuto Sadamoto in 2023, December 15th. So this is like 2 years later, okay? He aired out on Twitter his grievances, and he said, in quote, again, Google translation, "Everyone is trash like me. I'll make up for it in my future work. Until then, I will live my life as the worst animator who has ruined a masterpiece." He's talking in reference to JJK specifically. And then soon after, he had to apologize because I guess the things that he said was quite disparaging for his coworkers or his colleagues, or other people caught wind of it, so he then apologized. Then I think everything was good for a bit. Then he posted again, informing people that he was sent to the hospital for, quote, unknown reasons. Now, when I think what he means by unknown reasons is not because he got hurt or got penalized or got roughed up because he made that disparaging post or that very self-deprecating post. I think he went to the hospital because he just couldn't handle the stress and his health was deteriorating. I honestly hope and I honestly feel that he wasn't harmed based on the statements that he made. Would you agree?
I certainly agree. Yeah, I hope it wasn't like essentially an assault on him.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that like, and this is crazy to say, I hope it was just physical exhaustion and mental breakdown.
Yeah, especially when you consider what he wrote.
Which is crazy to say that still.
Yeah, imagine that, right? Imagine that's the silver
oh my
lining.
God, it's just stress. Oh, thank God he didn't get attacked. It's like, no, that's still fucked up. He still ended up in hospital.
It's like the lesser of two evils, but they're both fucking evil, okay?
Yeah. And sort of just like paint the whole picture on how like all these commenters, right? Like the two freelancers, Ippei as well. The one which is saying that like they were working on 4 properties at the same time. Let's just dissect 2021, right? So
that's why 2021 Incident is called that.
The major productions they had at the beginning of the year actually started at the end of 2020 because Attack on Titan part 1 of season 4 started in December of 2020. I believe that the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen no Attack on Titan part 1 season 4 part 1 was 16 episodes, so it's a 1.5 cur.
Right.
Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 was a double cur.
Yes.
And that one started all the way back in October 2020, but it did not finish until March of 2021, the same time that they also finished the last episode of season 4 part 1 for Attack on Titan. A season later, they then worked on Zombieland Saga, which ran from that one was a spring. From April 2021 to June 2021.
So bear in mind all of this. There's pre-production from Zombieland, the Zombieland Saga,
whilst they're doing all of the releases for
and post-production. Yeah. So they, even though they are split in terms of release, they're not split in terms of production.
Then they had a 1-month break before going into working on Remain, as well as Iden
Deities.
Yeah, the Iden Deities, No Only Peace. Both of them running from July through to October 2021. So that was all of summer, with roughly like 1 cur each. So it was a double cur production across the two. And then they finished off the year by working on Tech Op Destiny, which ran from October through to December 2021. So they only had a 1-month break between June and July.
And that's assuming that they actually had a break and it wasn't like pre-production stuff.
Yeah, no, that was all just pre-planning for Remain, for Iden, and for Type of Destiny.
And if I were to just guess, right? Co-producing it with Madhouse for Tacked Up Destiny could be a little bit of like, hey, big bro, I might need some help over here. Can you help me out? Because that is the last one of the 2021 and also was co-produced by Studio Madhouse. So it's a stretch in terms of a speculation, but it's not inconceivable to me, especially when you hear of all of the accounts of we're doing so many productions, we're so overworked, we're stretched thin. Where do we turn for help?
Yeah, and I also like don't even think that they managed to catch a break because right when 2022 started, they worked on part 2 of season 4 of Attack on Titan, whilst also working on Chainsaw Man, whilst also working on what else were they working on? They were working on Dance Dancer.
And JJK took 4 months.
JJK 0 was during that time as well. And then to start off 2023, then they did season 2 of JJK alongside season 2 of Vinland Saga, alongside Hell's Paradise, alongside Campfire Cooking in Another World.
So earlier, way earlier when we talked about 2021 Incident, and I referenced both JJK season 1 and season 2, I hope now you can see why even though they're a season apart, they are grouped kind of together because they all intersect and interconnect in terms of a continuous production train, if you will. And obviously, Maruyama, the CEO, apologized publicly and has said like they will do better. And I'm sure if you want to Google it, there's plenty of these statements. Now, we'll mention Chainsaw Man. There's been a discussion about Chainsaw Man that I think... Okay, well, Will, you had a big face after Googling something. What's up?
So, over the course of 2021 through to the end of 2023, across Zombieland Saga Revenge, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Remake, all those series I mentioned, that totaled to over 200 episodes of anime.
In 2 years? Is it 3 years? Because you count 2021, right?
2021, 2022, 23.
So 3 years. So 200 and what?
201.
Do we have a calculator?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's essentially...
67 episodes per year.
Yeah.
That's more than an episode a week. That's insane.
That means you're working nonstop, dude.
Yeah.
For 3 fucking years.
Yes. So that's already fucking crazy. Look, did we get some good anime? Absolutely. But there is this thing of, like, was it worth it?
So, in that time, right? 3 years, 16 you get 12 seasons, right? But per season you would get a cur.
Yes.
They produced close to 17 curs of anime over 12 seasons.
Yes.
Which is fucking insane. I remember we were talking about our retrospective, how like A1 Pictures or Cloverworks or some studios would be working on like 3-4 productions.
Or Cloverworks, I think, at one point.
But
yeah.
it would be like 1 year they do that, and then they have a down year, and then maybe they do another. This one was just
or a split cur, right?
Yeah, this one was just nonstop.
Yeah.
Every time a season ended, they were already up and running with 2 new series or 1 new series with a movie on the side too.
And then within the same time announced that next year we're doing this and this.
So it's actually insane as well that like we're past the half. We're almost done with 2024 actually. That's insane to say. But if you look at what they currently have, so they released Butchigiri earlier this year, along with Oblivion Battery, and then yet to be released for fall is, or at least when this recording comes out, Rama Half.
Yeah, we will actually get into that when we talk about future MAPPA.
Yeah. So,
but there is a lot that has actually left to be done yet.
It is crazy that, like, at least as of now, it seems to be that they're catching their breath, but I also did see a lot of to be announced as well.
There's 6 shows that has been announced formally, but there's no date yet.
Yeah. So
and that okay, check. 2 of the 6 has official dates, but 4 is TBD, but they have been officially announced.
Yeah. So Zenshu, Hell's Paradise Season 2, Campfire Cooking in Another World Season 2, and of course JJK Season 3. So those ones could be later this year. They could be all over 2025, but we know that like this is
by the way, Will,
downtime. Yeah,
the things you just mentioned were not the 6 that I'm talking about. By the
really?
way, yeah,
there's more.
There's more.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just go over it now since we're on that. Ranma Half is coming out in the fall. We know that.
Yep.
Attack on Titan: The Last Attack, anime movie coming out on November 8th, 2024.
That's true. I didn't even mention the movies. Yeah, that's right.
Then Inazuma 11, the movie. Prologue to the New Heroes, 2 of them to be precise.
Oh god, I forgot to mention Yasuke was also 2021.
Yep. That's how the article started actually. Yeah. And then JJK has a compilation film, so okay, maybe not that much work there in the grand scheme of things, but still. Then there is an anime original by Shinichiro Watanabe with Adult Swim, and it's essentially Cowboy Bebop and parkour called Lazarus.
Yep.
That has TBD, we don't know yet. And then in spring 2025, the Rose of Versailles movie.
Oh, Versailles.
Versailles.
Yeah.
Fuck.
C'est français.
My. Oh well, I don't give a fuck then at that point.
Sorry. Je suis très désolé. I'm sorry for all the French listeners.
Listen, France, you're cool, but sometimes
your language is hard to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, if we can bond with anime, we good. We're good, but like I struggle with French. Don't shoot me. I'm just really bad at that. I mean, I have a speech impediment when I even speak Japanese names, okay?
Man, I even forgot they did Kakegurui Twin for 2022.
Yeah, dude. Fucking insane. And that's a Netflix show too.
And then there's still, of course, the Zombieland Saga movie. There's the Reze arc for Chainsaw Man, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
God damn.
Those 6 that I'm mentioning are like close to happening within like ballpark, not like we have not announced it yet. There's way more announcements.
Dude, fuck this workload, man. Holy shit. I mean, I love anime, but not like this.
And I love MAPPA, but not like this either, right? So, let's go back, if we can, back to Chainsaw Man. And why is Chainsaw Man such an important talking point in Studio MAPPA's history as well as its ramifications for the anime industry? Because believe it or not, in my opinion, it has a big impact. And that is because as we have reported before, Chainsaw Man Season 1, which was released for fall 2022 with an episode count of 1 per 12 episodes, is completely funded by Studio MAPPA themselves. So when we talked about AD13 and executive production committees, Chainsaw Man has no production committee. It is just MAPPA themselves. And because of that, they're not following the standard practice of production committees. So in other words, MAPPA would, for the first time, I mean, if you discount Qeeo, because Qeeo has their own production committees for their own production. So I would consider that in-house. Here, MAPPA has full say over everything, yields the profit of everything, but also yields potential losses of everything. As of right now, there's a sequel movie, the Rize arc, which Will and I will probably watch really closely because Rize is one of my favorite characters from Chainsaw Man and one of my favorite characters in general.
Rize, not Rize. Rize's Tokyo Ghoul, dude.
I love both. I don't care.
That's true.
I'm just going to walk past that as if I made a mistake on purpose.
Purple head villain bitches.
Look, you're speaking my thing, man. Like literally,
yeah.
Like no joke. I think literally, if I were to redo like top 10 yandere / villainous, Rize was there already. I would definitely put Rize on there as well. I think I'll also add the JoJo girl, the hair girl from part 4.
Yeah, okay.
She was an entry that I did not have before because I didn't watch it then. But anyways, back to Chainsaw Man. Right now, Mal score 8.48, rank 145, popularity 70 with 1.6 million members. Extremely respectable and amazing stats. On May 17th, 2023, MAPPA CEO Manabu Otsuka officially commented on the financials of Chainsaw Man Season 1, stating, again using Google Translate, financially, it was a complete success. However, I'm still not satisfied whether it has the same impact as Jujutsu Kaisen, which I worked on most recently.
Do you know how insane that statement is? Where like, they did a good job, but I'm not satisfied.
But they could do better.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is like the most Asian parent thing you could say.
Now,
it was an A, but it was actually A minus. It could have been an A, and if it was an A, it should have been an A plus.
Now, when talking about the DVD and Blu-ray sales of Chainsaw Man, Otsuka commented, there are works that sell a lot of packages. Packages, I'm assuming, means copies. There are works that can only be watched by distribution, in other words, streaming services. To be honest, I wish I could have reached more audiences who paid more for the package. In other words, he wished that there were more people buying the DVDs and Blu-rays instead of relying on streaming services. And then he ended his statement by saying, we'll explore how to approach the target group who will pay more money for the work of Chainsaw Man.
That reads so poorly in terms of, oh, if you guys want more Chainsaw Man, well, we can get you Chainsaw Man, but you'll have to do a little something. You'll have to give us some fucking money.
So, on top of being tone deaf, right, which is exactly what that statement is, irregardless of Google Translate, I think the message comes through loud and clear in terms of his sentiment about the performance of Chainsaw Man.
This is like, it's not even a GoFundMe. It's a go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly, right? And here's the thing. People have speculated that based on this, will there be a Chainsaw Man Season 2 or not?
That is a very, very legitimate like speculation.
I mean, to the point where Trash Taste Podcast, the #1 anime podcast in the world, have had, I think, a section where they debate, is there even a chance of Chainsaw Man Season 2? I don't think I've listened to it, like, legitimately.
Yeah,
I haven't.
So whatever we say, if it happens to be the same thing, then
hey,
we're probably all in the same boat.
By the way, I'm pretty sure we're all going to say the same thing because it's not that hard to say the same thing, which is, what the fuck? Like, why wouldn't you make more?
It is actually crazy that, like, legitimately profits come before anything else. And I get that. You run a business. You want to make fucking money. But there has to be a line in which, once it's crossed, in terms of, like, financial, like in terms of revenue
or profitability,
that
right?
you could just be like, yeah, no, I think we did well. Let's continue working on this, rather than, yeah, I think we did well, but we could have done better. Like that is the most demoralizing, destabilizing shit you could say to anybody who's attached to the project.
I mean, to be fair, if I were to say we did well, but we could do better, you can still say that in a way that it's like,
yeah, but
bro, we could have. Look, no, you could have been in like an encouraging way, like, oh, dude, that is the ceiling is not what we thought it is. Let's achieve greater heights. Versus, I'm disappointed in you because I projected that we would do better.
It's because he didn't reach the ceiling because he ran out of cash to stand on.
Oh shit!
That's what
such a harsh thing to say.
That's literally what it is. This guy is 5 foot tall, but he's taller than anybody else when he stands on his money. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's trying to go for.
Well, he got to do some push-ups. He got to have.
Also, I don't even know if the
freestyle.
guy's 5 foot tall. I was just merely speculating. But goddamn, like if you're trying to use like your wealth and like your finances to swing your big balls around, like goddamn, like nobody wants to see that shit, man. We just want to see some Chainsaw Man.
I think the most charitable thing that you can say is that he's a CEO saying CEO things.
Yeah, that's. I mean, like you would not want him to say anything else. But it also like when corporate as corporate speak goes, like this is insanely tone deaf.
Because on top of that, why'd you have to say that? You can just say financially it was a complete success. However, we can do better, and I would like to.
Or we aim to do better.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't have to say all of that. By the way, like that's the part that is like.
The part that fucks with me the most is when he says we will target the right group who will pay money for the work of Chainsaw Man.
Now it could be lost in translation.
It could be.
But I don't think it would be that much different in terms of the actual
because
quote.
it could be like, oh, we do want to bring in like some more donations or more contributions financially to our production. But it's at the same time, it's like you guys made the choice of footing the whole bill.
Yeah. You chose not to go down the production committee route, which, by the way, I'm in fully support
like,
of.
if I invited 10 people to a dinner and I offered to pay for everybody, and then a week later I said...
I see the bill and be like, wow, that's too expensive.
Dude, this dinner was great, but...
I wish you guys didn't order the food.
In order to do this again, like you're gonna have to, I'm gonna target the right people for this dinner. Like, what the fuck? You're the one who invited us to this fucking dinner. You're the one who decided that I'm going to helm this fucking committee. You better own the fuck up. You knew the pitfalls of running this shit if you're the fucking CEO of a major anime studio.
Now, Chainsaw Man Part 1, in my opinion, and I think Will would be in agreement, is going to be adapted one way or the other. Because it is too hype of a property, and
by the way, when we say Chainsaw Man Part 1, we mean before the high school arc.
Yeah. So basically, everything that has come out before it transitioning to Jump Plus Manga
basically
Plus.
It was up to chapter 99, 90 something.
No, it was over 100. No. Sorry. It was like 89, 90. Yeah, you're right. Because 100 was in the school arc.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically, anything that does not involve a person of a female character who's the main. Okay, actually,
yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to say anything more.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. The point is, Part 1. That is what's the guy's name? Fucking shit.
Oh, you were to say the dog's name, right?
I was about to say Pochi, but shit. What's the guy's name? He is so. Shit, what's the guy's name?
I'm looking it up right now. It's been a while since I watched Chainsaw Man. Denji.
Okay, so basically the story of Denji. Okay,
and Pochita is the dog.
Yes, thank you, Pochi. Yeah. Anyways, that, in my opinion, is going to get adapted one way or the other. It's just too hype to not be.
It would be a complete financial misstep if they were to just be like, we want to do it purely for profits. Fine, if you want to do it for profits, make the fucking series.
So,
well, put your money where your mouth is, and we'll also foot the bill if it works out well for both parties. It wasn't like we didn't make you enough money for the first one. You just wanted more.
Now, Anime News Network Anime Corner has also reported the following. While MAPPA has full control over everything themselves instead of answering to a production committee, it is expected that doing something new and not done before is a difficult endeavor and would require some changes and adjustments. Aspects such as licensing, merchandise planning, and negotiations are usually done by production committees due to their connections and expertise. Or maybe MAPPA decides to do season 2, but revert back to the traditional, production committee, or do a split of sorts. But to be like, hey, this shit is hard, guys. And I'm like, no shit, that's why you get production committees. As twisted and as rigged of a system that is, which we did a whole episode on it, right?
But more often than not, they know what they're doing.
And they have the connections.
It's their job, right? There's a reason why a committee would have Sony or Avex on there, because you need music, you need voice actors. There's a reason why you might get Bandai Namco, because you need to make games and merchandise.
Yeah, how surprising is it that you, as an animation studio, outside of animating stuff, is maybe not that good at all the other facets of the production or post-production pipeline?
Like, you wonder, Toho Animation buying out all these Toho the company, not Toho Animation,
Yeah.
Toho Group buying Science Star. It's like, yeah, because then that way they have everything under their roof. They have their licensing partners, they have their music providers, they have their animation studios.
Hey,
they have major banks working with them.
Doga Kobo is doing really well with Oshinoko. They seem to be a very competent studio. We're at Kadokawa. We have a huge publishing wing, and we also have a lot of series that should get adaptations. Let's just buy them up.
Yeah, you're not like what MAPPA, or at least what the vision of the CEO is that they want to be their own self-sufficient profit generator, which, I'm sorry, when you have that many employees working under your company and you're working on that many productions, you cannot just go out and say, I can handle everything on my own. No, you can't.
Look, I'll be honest. If you can, like if he could, that would be great, honestly, right? Because that only sets a precedent for other animation studios to follow, but it also proves that you don't have to rely on a production committee, right? It's a very lofty expectation and idealistic, but it's also one that is so naive.
The problem here is that if you are fronting everything on your own and it fucks up, you have no fallback. At least with a production company, you can beg for a little bit of money.
Yeah,
a little bit of time.
Or how about the distribution of responsibilities? Because then you are not just the animation studio in this particular case.
You're not sourcing broadcasting and licensing rights. You're not sourcing merchandise and games. You're not licensing. You're not sourcing out who is going to be, which streaming services you're going to use. You're not going to be trying to find music and voice acting talent on your own.
On top of all of this, don't forget the most important part that connects all of this: negotiations.
Yeah, who the fuck is going to be the one brokering these deals for you?
Yeah.
You, like the CEO? Hell no. Like,
or good luck trying to find the right people, because now you don't have a production committee whose sole purpose is to find those people for you, or have those people on retainer such that you don't have to worry about it and all you have to do is animate.
Yeah, you're trying to get Wagyu beef, but you're paying like Walmart prices.
You're trying to have your cake and eat it too, while telling people who make the cake that it should be made better.
Yeah.
Is like the biggest slap in the face, while also being understandably frustrated at the system, but doing it in the worst possible way.
I mean, like, there was definitely some praise in the beginning of our production committee episode where we're saying, like, wow, they bucked the trend. They're going to be doing everything on their own. But then when you come out and say, hey, shit hasn't been easy, pay me more money and maybe our lives will be easier. But no, the fuck no,
it's like
man.
Such entitlement to be like, oh, by the way, guys, fans, your support was good, but it needs to be better.
Look, we've seen so many of these cases, like, for example, on Kickstarter, of people trying to push, like, overly ambitious games and, like, tricking so many people into funding their shit, and then 10 years later not producing anything.
I mean, I won't even... the scams are obvious, right?
Yeah.
But I'm even talking about genuine people, and I think MAPPA in the beginning was that, right? Where they're genuinely trying to make it on their own. They're genuinely trying to make sure that they become self-sufficient. But then they would encounter a lot of these entrepreneurial kind of situations that... What makes you think why didn't you think that far ahead? Of course, you should have expected this.
Yeah, what's crazy as well is that they think they can go ahead and do all this on their own when they've only been running for 13 years.
But to be fair, they also have...
To put a case in point, UFO Table has been running for 24 years, right? And even they don't, like, do everything on their own.
No, but to be fair also, you also have to understand that Madhouse, they have the lineage there, and that they have a lot of experience from that too.
Yes, experience comes part and parcel with working at some of the biggest companies in the world. But at the same time, we've seen loads of major companies. I mean, look at Twitter, for example.
X, you mean?
Well, I mean, that's why it's
exactly
not working,
right. Yeah. So
Like you know for a fact that like if you had any business sense, which is why this person has become CEO in the first place, you know that in order to get financial independence, you need to be able to be at the top of every aspect and not take any bullshit from anybody else. But if you come to us and say, "Oh, please, can I have some more?" No. Like, fuck off. Like, you already said you want to do this on your own. You're going to do this on your own.
It's okay if you ask for more, but when you be like, no, you guys need to give me more.
It's like they're putting the onus on the viewers by saying, like, well, if we targeted the right people who would have given us more money, then maybe they deserve to watch, more Chainsaw Man. It's like, the fuck no.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
They're saying that basically it's our fault that they are not
We're
succeeding.
already paying increasing prices on streaming services. I don't know how many times Crunchyroll and Netflix have increased their fucking yearly subscription.
Also, you should have known that people don't really buy Blu-rays or DVDs anymore.
And you should also know that there is a finite number of additional subscribers per streaming platform. It's not like it's going to be incrementally growing every fucking year. It stagnated for a while and only started coming back up again because they started releasing the password crackdown at Netflix. And that was a forced move that pissed a lot of people off, but also people realized, well, there's not that many options in streaming, so yeah. Whereas there are a lot more options than watching Chainsaw Man.
Furthermore, your own house, your own backyard has your own staff talking important stuff, important problems that you're facing.
Not even behind your back. Just straight up on the internet, dude.
Yeah, that you're apologizing for and apparently not reprimanding them because you're accepting the reality and saying that you'll do better, all that PR general speak. Yet you're pointing the finger and the blame on the consumers. And I'm just like, whoa.
Well, when inflation's up, currencies are dropping,
The
spending
yen,
power is
yeah.
dropping. Like, bro, like we're all just trying to get by, dude.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to make a living, and like that living is not necessarily the best of living.
I mean, I don't think we need to catch a break. Let's just go on and finish the rest of this episode. What do you think?
We can go, but I do need to go for a pee break.
Okay, then actually let's do a pee break because listeners won't really feel the difference.
You want to hold hands while we pee?
No, but we can cross beams.
Oh yay! We're gonna
Ghostbusters.
Oh, we're gonna lightsaber fight. Nice. Okay, we'll catch you after this pee break.
Peace. Welcome, everybody, to the second half of episode 94 of the Good Anime Palette podcast. Will and I have just finished our pee break, and we are ready to shit all on MAPPA's future.
I don't know if you're going to shit on it. I think, I definitely left on a pretty bitter note, but...
I think rightfully so, though.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are very frustrated at that, too, right?
But at the same time, despite all that frustration... Everybody enjoyed Jujutsu Kaisen. Everybody really fucking enjoyed Chainsaw Man. People are still waiting for more Attack on Titan, even though it's finished. And I gotta say, some of the stuff they've released, look, I've already mentioned those big three of MAPPA's lineup.
But
right?
I think even things like Campfire Cooking is so good.
Dance Dance Dancer was fucking amazing.
It's really good, right? So,
I mean, Hell's Paradise.
Yeah. I mean, people tend to forget Hell's Paradise when it's kind of overshadowed by all of these other shonen actions or seinen actions.
This unknown and original work of Shinichiro Watanabe, Lazarus.
Yeah, who knows what that is, right? But it looks kind of cool. And so let's talk about future MAPPA. And actually, let's also talk about, while in the same breath, Madhouse. Because, in my opinion, if I have to go by my thesis, Will, about this episode, is that Madhouse 2.0, if you will, recently, in their resurgence of Fieren. As of recording, we don't know how good Orb is doing, but they seem to be coming back, in a big way. Would you agree? So I would say it would, for me at least, I think they have, Madhouse is having a comeback of sorts.
Especially for a studio that's been running for 50 years.
Yeah. And
let's not forget, they started their first production was in 1973.
Yeah. And obviously you can say, in the mid-2010s, they have done stuff like Overlord. They have done stuff like there's just so many random stuff that they would show up for. Obviously, Tacked Up Destiny, they co-produced. But it wasn't until Sunny Boy for me that I started to pay more attention to Madhouse.
Which is also around the time when they just started not really doing a whole lot of stuff. Because since Sunny Boy, we already mentioned Tacked Up Destiny, they've done The Vampire Dies in No Time, 4th season of Overlord, Police in the Pod, Bibliophile Princess, Yamada-kun at level 999, The Gene of AI, then
Frieren. And I think Frieren really changed things around.
Yep.
And I think Will and I have really... just like every other human being on the world who has read the manga or know of the pedigree, it wasn't that hard to assume that Madhouse was going to knock it out of the park. But to knock it out of the stratosphere was a completely different expectation that was genuinely awesome to see. Because it was one of those things where non-anime people, I would say, was coming towards me and Will being like, yo, there's this Frieren thing that everyone's been talking about. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah. Madhouse is doing some good moves, especially with this year. They haven't released anything yet. And then all of a sudden in fall 2024, they're releasing 2 productions. Orb, along with Trillion Game. Now, Trillion Game...
Yeah, that's the one I'm not so sure about because I think it's based on a manga which does not have an English translation.
I mean, Trillion Game is... Okay. For a minute, I thought there's no English translation for the title. No, the manga is purely in Japanese right now. There's no English counterpart to it. But stats wise, 7.74.
Yeah,
for the manga.
I wanted to have it for our ASAP until I realized it did not have an English publication. So who knows? But look, Madhouse had its resurgence. It was a titan. It fell after Red Line and a bunch of other things, kind of slumbered, and then now is waking up, Phoenix down moment. And in my opinion, I think MAPPA is getting very Icarus-like and is going very close to the sun that its first downfall in terms of mimicking Madhouse just might be around the corner.
Actually, was Red Line really the big one?
No. It was more like the nail in the coffin, to be honest.
Because right after is just Red Line came out in 2009, right? So during that time afterwards, they then had High School of the Dead, Atomic Galaxy, Hunter x Hunter 2011, Chihaya Furu. Even though Chihaya Furu like spanned over 7 years, even though it was only 3 seasons. Yeah. And then they had No Game No Life, Regular Magic High School, Parasite the Maxim, Death Parade, One Punch Man. I think was the last major thing they did. Granted, they also had A Place Further Than the Universe and the Overlord series. But yeah, I think it was the span between 2015 up to like Sunny Boy, like the 6 years, which is around the time when MAPPA started getting onto the scene.
Yeah. Look, what I mean by why I'm so fixated on Red Line is not necessarily because
it was one of the big ones, and other things compounded to make it into like the situation that they went through.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I can very much see Madhouse pre-Red Line and post-Red Line, if that makes any sense. And then I would argue pre-One Punch Man Season 1 and post-One Punch Man Season 1 is like another phase of Madhouse. Because they're, as I said on the docket that Will is reading, they have done work. A Place Further Than the Universe is a great manga, a great anime. A lot of those other animes that you said is great.
The 2000s was a crazy time for Madhouse as well. Boogie Pop, Phantom, X, Dragon Drive, Ninja Scroll, Gungrave, Technolize, Gunslinger Girl, Paranoia Agent, Monster, Beck, Strawberry 100%, Paradise Kiss, Nana, Black Lagoon, Kemono Zume, Death Notes, Claymore, Devil May Cry animated series. They even did a Maple Story anime as well.
Yeah, that sure. When you say like the mid 2010s,
that was leading up to Red Line. These are all
exactly.
These are all pre-Red Line,
and that's why Red Line to me is the tipping point. Not because of Red Line, but because Red Line literally draws the line between pre-Madhouse.
I forgot Rainbow was fucking Madhouse.
Yeah, like the delinquent one.
We can never watch it because it's not licensed anymore.
It's in purgatory hell, yeah.
God fucking damn it.
So
but I can still watch Atomic Galaxy anytime I want.
Damn straight. And Time Machine Blues, you have to get on that.
Yeah.
But anyways, so now let's talk about looking through the lens of Studio Madhouse, how MAPPA fits into this trajectory. Because let's talk about the future productions of Madhouse as of recording. I wrote, and we talked about it already, but Will, you mentioned a couple already. What was it, like cooking, Wildfire Cooking Season 2? What was the other one?
Are you talking about Madhouse or MAPPA?
MAPPA now.
Yeah, MAPPA. So they've got Campfire Cooking Season 2.
JJK Season 3.
Hell's Paradise Season 2.
Hell's Paradise.
And they've also got Senshu. They've got another 2 movies of the Reze arc for Chainsaw Man, as well as the Zombieland saga, as well as the Rose of Versailles. Those are the other movies. So there's still a lot of things to come out for MAPPA. The issue that I have is that I thought that 2024 was a bit of a breather. A lot of these things are packed for the end of 2024 all the way through to the end of 2025. So we're seeing another repeat cycle. And what's also really insane as well, and we completely overlooked it. Those crazy years of 2021, 2022, and 2023 was all in the midst of fucking COVID.
Yeah.
So you understand that, like, one, overwork is not going to be great, especially when there's a deadly virus going around.
Yes.
And 2, when you're saying that, like, you should target people who would be willing to offer more money for Chainsaw Man, everybody was broke during COVID.
No, but not just that. I would argue, just like how Twitch streaming shot up in terms of visibility,
fair,
I would also argue, just like how everyone is stretched thin due to resources, does not mean that people are not watching anime. And I would argue the viewership for every single piece of entertainment has increased. Now, whether that translates to revenue/profitability, that's way too hard of a question for anyone to decipher. We would have to rely on, like, what? The AJA, like the Animation Japan Association, yeah. They release a report every year on how the industry does. So we might check on that, but that's really dry stuff that may not be of interest to you, dear listeners. But nonetheless, viewership definitely increased. That's guaranteed. Everyone, Crunchyroll, Netflix, even video game sales has increased. Twitch.
Actually, looking at, like, the trajectory of Madhouse, they were actually going through something that was very, very similar to MAPPA, in that, like, 2008 they were working on 7 productions. 2009 they had, like, 7 productions. 2010 they had 5 productions, some that ran over multiple years, all the way leading up to the end of the 2010s, that decade. So within that span, after One Punch Man, they worked on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 15 things over the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, though, after Sunny Boy, they were a bit busy with Vampire Dies in No Time, Overlord, Season 4, Police in the Pod, and Bibliophile Princess. But after that, it was like anywhere from 2 to 3 productions a year, rather than 6.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even like 2024 alone, if you don't include the latter half of Frieren, then it would be Trillion Game and Orb on the Movements of the Earth, which would have taken place a year after they released Frieren. Granted, maybe the team at Madhouse is a lot smaller than it used to be. Maybe they're not as reliant on.
It's 70 including contractors.
70.
70.
Yeah, so that's the equivalent.
At least according to Wikipedia as of right now.
That's equivalent to one-sized studio from Madhouse.
Exactly.
From
MAPPA.
From MAPPA,
yeah. Which has 408 according to Wikipedia, which is the best source that we can find at the moment.
Yeah.
So the thing is also, of all this, we haven't even mentioned things that probably would get a sequel from MAPPA's point of view, but they have just not said anything yet. I am mentioning in particular one series called
No You Know Life?
No. Vinland Saga.
Yeah.
Season 3. No one has said anything about Season 3 yet, but Season 2 was very successful to our knowledge. It's gotten a lot of hype. So Season 3 should be a lock just in terms of when, right? Dorohedoro is getting a sequel. That is officially confirmed by Crunchyroll. I think there was an article on it. But any news about it beyond like an announcement and maybe like a teaser PV? No, nothing. So I would consider those technically on the slate. It's just TBD, just like all of these are TBDs, right? So I don't know. Do we know if the Reze arc is like 2 movies or 1 movie?
No clue. But if it was just one movie, that would suck.
Yeah.
It would also, I don't know. It's I get why they're doing it, but I always felt that the Reze arc should have just been played out as a full cur.
Yeah, I know. But I also know why they want to do a movie.
Yeah.
Because it can earn money, and then you convert it into a Mugen Train situation of a TV.
Especially after, the CEOs talking about money, right? It makes absolute sense they're going to be doing a movie. As a fan, you want to play that out episode to episode throughout a cur. It just feels better that way because that's how I want. That's how I read it in the anime. I mean, the manga, and that's how it should be experienced in the anime. But I know money talks, so they're gonna fucking do a movie.
Yeah,
and they're not the only ones. I get that everybody's doing fucking movies now.
Yes. So listen, that's just the way it is. I just feel that MAPPA as a whole is basically going down the same trajectory as Madhouse pre-Redline. And it is extremely concerning. Because this is a studio that I think for all intents and purposes is like the golden child that can do no wrong. Again, the overwork and underpaid stuff absolutely is a blemish. But if we're talking straight output in terms of anime series, when I hear MAPPA, I just don't even need to think further. I just know it's covered. Just like how A1 Pictures, when I hear that, I'm pretty certain it will be good. Cloverworks, not really, because it's uncertain. But Qeeo Annie, I'm always certain that it will do good. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know. I have a little bit more faith in Cloverworks. In that, if they make something.
To be fair, if it's anime original, then I will not. But in general, Cloverworks, I would agree because even Windbreakers was, I think, very, very well done.
Yeah. For
a show that does, or for a manga that is about a topic that actually shouldn't really be that interesting.
Like regardless of whether they'll do well or not, you at least know that the studio is going to do what their job is in terms of instilling their style or just being able to produce an anime from start to finish. So things like studios like JC Staff, right? Studios like Bibri Animation.
I would say even Studio Dean, honestly. Like as much
Passione.
Yeah, all of those studios seems to be very healthy in terms of their output versus the amount of things on their slate.
Yeah.
Now, we're taking very broad strokes because we don't know the intricacies of it. And probably there's a good amount of everyone being underpaid and overworked anyways. But at least from the offset, people are not complaining on public internet forums / social media to disparage your employer or your producer, being Netflix in this case, or distributor, right? And get away scot-free in Japan is so unconceivable to me that it's such a big deal. That's like something that I think, to me, speaks volumes than I think a lot of people realize. Because to air out your dirty laundry like that and to have, at least on the surface, very little repercussions, and actually having the CEO on one hand say that we will do better, and then on another hand saying that the audience needs to do better, is such a weird thing that I can only laugh at the situation.
So I had a quick look at the anime retrospective for 2023. The one we did earlier this year, right?
Sure.
MAPPA weren't even the ones that made the most anime series last year. The Madhouse as well. The ones that were at the top were JC Staff, Leiden Films, and OLM. All of them have had over 6 productions, along with Silverlink too. But Silverlink and OLM had multiple co-productions. So, for example, like they released 2 series in summer each, but one of them was a co-production with Team Yoshioka with OLM and Blade for Silverlink, and so on and so on. The ones that are crazy are essentially Leiden Films, who produced 7. So 1, 2, 2, 2 over winter, spring, summer, and fall, and then JC Staff decided, I'm just gonna put everything at the beginning of the year. 2 for winter, 3 for spring, 3 for summer. Now I'm just focusing on Leiden Films and JC Staff because neither of them did any co-productions. They did everything completely in-house with, of course, some freelancers and other contract workers, right? Both of them have an average of over 200 employees. and they managed to produce 7 and 8 works respectively.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of talk in terms of like
No.
worker dissatisfaction,
No.
underpay and whatnot?
If there is, it was the standard kind of narrative, which I also want to emphasize is still not good. But nonetheless, not to the degree that MAPPA is receiving, at least since 2021, 2022, 2023.
I think it's also down to the fact too that, and this is not comparing like the gravity of these studios, how strong they are and whatever they produce, but I think it helps when you have a distinctive style of what you're going for and it's not shonen action, because you know how much time and money goes into making those specific scenes. So the series for JC staff that released over the course of 2023 were Danmachi 4, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, Eden Zero Season 2, In Another World My Smartphone Season 2, Sacrificial Princess and the King of the Beasts, Reign of the Seven Spellblades, Duke of Death and His Maid Season 2, Tsukimichi Season 2. That's 2024. So, yeah, they were working on things that legitimately were good, but still mainly focused on like fantasy, romance, isekai, right? Leiden Films during that time were working on, I don't even know how to pronounce that one. It's Reiwa no Digi Charat. I don't know what the fuck that is.
What is that?
It's a kid anime kind of thing. It's based on a mascot from Broccoli's retail chain store, Gamers. Don't know what that is. But they also worked on Eternal, Tokyo Revengers, Legendary Heroes Dead, Insomniacs After War, Atelier Ryza, Rurouni Kenshin, Tokyo Revengers, The Next Arc, Goblin Slayer Season 2. Not a whole lot of heavy productions, but for the most part, both of those studios were working on some pretty well-received series, but series that did not. I mean, again, I don't know the behind the scenes of how much they're working on, but it didn't seem like these are things that like have the weight of the Chainsaw Man's, the Hell's Paradise.
Well, the reason is because when you do action series, whether it's seinen or shonen, right, the eye candy, the sakuga moments is of utmost importance, right? And if you were to talk about romance or fantasy, it is more slow pace. There's no need for crazy, extravagant eye candy as much as, does it look sharp or good? Then it's great.
Which is why I'm saying that even though they have half of the workforce, both of these studios, if you add them together, they have just about as many employees as MAPPA. I think it's 200 and 260 for JC staff and Leiden Films respectively. But even then, they both worked on put together. They worked on 15 properties versus the 4 of MAPPA's. Yet during that particular year, MAPPA was still going through some pretty serious financial issues in terms of we don't have enough money and all that. And yes, it makes sense, especially if you're working on shonen action that are the most popular series. It's not just putting money into production. It's also putting money into licensing. It's also putting money into advertising and marketing, right? You're going to see a lot more advertising material for Chainsaw Man than, say, for example, Insomniacs After School.
Yes.
Right? And just the one alone, I'm sure their budget outweighs pretty much all of what...
magnitudes, right? Yeah, and here's the other thing, too, is in general, again, very broadly speaking, when MAPPA is tasked with producing an anime, I would even argue with Remain, for example, or the Ida Tendiri's No Only Piece. The quality is not only above average, or is excellent. Even cooking, Wildfire Cooking, was it Campfire Cooking anime?
Yeah.
Is done in such a way that it looks fantastic. So the problem then becomes, if there is one, is that the expectations of a MAPPA animated property is so high that now there's no way that you can do anything lower. Because imagine if JJK Season 3 came out and it looks equivalent to One Punch Man Season 1 to Season 2. It would be catastrophic. So in other words, the stakes become higher and higher and higher because you, MAPPA, have set the bar so high. And it's like this double-edged sword because I love their production in general. And I think their production, at least their output, more or less always blows all of our collective minds. But when you peel, like unveil, what's behind the curtains, it is just like bodies everywhere. And like just pain and suffering. And I don't know what can be done about it other than MAPPA chill the fuck out and stop a bit. And just, chill out a bit.
It's hard though because of the catalog they have.
Yeah.
I think it just comes to the territory that if you're going to be working on Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Hell's Paradise, like those alone are going to be, and also Attack on Titan.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Wit Studio had the wits, again, no pun intended, to be like, yo, Spy X Family's a really hype property, but I don't think we can handle it. So Cloverworks, let's join forces. I'm just going to sell off Ancient Magus' Bride and AOT and Vinland Saga. Oh, MAPPA, you want it? And then MAPPA is just this hungry beast to be like, oh yeah, I want all of that property. It's going to be bank.
Let's sort of compare the other like big name studios when it comes to working on shonen series. So I would argue Bones would be there.
For My Hero Academia, yeah.
Ufotable would be there.
Yeah.
A1 Pictures would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even Wit Studio. Maybe not as much now.
I
mean, they still have like Spy Family, but that is a separate situation with Cloverworks, right?
Yeah.
Would you include Cloverworks in there? Piero, maybe?
No.
So you would say like the main sort of
competitors, especially when we talk about scale, right?
Yeah.
A1 is definitely a big company with Aniplex and everything.
Yep.
They have Mashal, right?
And they also have Sword Art Online.
Yes. What was the other one that you mentioned? The other studios? Ufotable. They obviously just have the one thing right now. Actually, they would have two. Would they have like? No, they don't. No, they just have Demon Slayer.
To be fair, the last 5 years of it's been Demon Slayer Mugen Train, Demon Slayer Entertainment Arc, Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village Arc, Demon Slayer Demon Slayer but they do also have an Untitled Genshin Impact series coming
Okay,
out.
there you go.
Right?
But Ufotable is very well known for taking one property, taking it to its end point, or at least to their end point, and then coming and focusing on another property and going all in on that, and then disappearing every year or two and then coming out with a banger. That's Ufotable's MO.
Yeah.
Qeeo Annie, we don't need to talk about because
Bones, on the other hand.
Bones
has been balancing it out fairly well because for a while they were working on Mob Psycho, they were working on My Hero Academia and Bungo Stray Dogs all at the same time, but kind of so the way that they did things was like their studio split, like studios like A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
Specific studios do specific things. Like Studio A was mainly doing like original works or stuff like that, and here at My Hero Academia, Studio D would do like Bungo Stray Dogs and so on and so on. Now more recently, because I think Mob Psycho is done.
It is done. Yeah.
Right. And then My Hero Academia is going to be done in terms of the anime.
Right. Like there's an end point now because the manga has ended.
Yeah. So at any given point, they've been working on 2 major series, 3 before, but like you can kind of like see there was an end point to a lot of these. Whereas like Chainsaw Man, they only just got started. Jujutsu Kaisen, they're getting to like some pretty heavy shit, but it's going to be a while before they finish up. Right?
Maybe.
Hell's Paradise, they're getting started with season 2. So those are just like the big 3 right now. We're not even including anything else that they're coming out with in the future years, right? This is what I think happens when you are trying to build yourself as not only a solo independent studio, but also a studio that houses some of the biggest properties of all time. Attack on Titan, in terms of shonen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shonen action. Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'll throw Hell's Paradise in there. Why the fuck not? Right?
I'll just be honest. If you are a more casual anime fan, right? Again, being very stereotypical here, but let's say the average anime fan is mostly catered towards the shonen action variety, right? I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say, right?
Yeah.
And so minus your Fierens or your Oshinokos that probably would be in your wheelhouse or like on your radar, for the most part, all the things that you need to watch as like this hypothetical anime fan is anything from MAPPA.
Yeah.
Because you have your JJK. Okay, you'll have your Demon Slayer, and then that's Ufotable, right? But the rest of that is MAPPA's stuff. It's Vinland Saga. It is JJK.
Well, Vinland Saga, yeah, that one's.
What? What about Vinland Saga?
I'm just saying it wasn't originally theirs.
It wasn't. It
Yeah,
was with studios,
yeah.
but now AOT wasn't theirs, but it's theirs now.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say like we know what specifically went down in the handover process, but you can see what they're doing. They're taking the biggest properties and putting it all under their roof, right? Chainsaw Man, Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen.
I would say
right?
Hell's Paradise is like a lower tier, not because of quality, but because it's overshadowed by all of these other hype shows, right?
Even though it's still very hype,
Extremely hype.
750,000 members on my anime list, right?
Yeah.
and they're doing season 2 soon.
Yeah, and then by the way, do you guys like Cowboy Bebop and Kids on the Slope?
Do you like Shinichiro Watanabe?
Well, guess what? He's decided to come on and hang out with us at Studio MAPPA and to do Lazarus. Like, what is that? Oh, well, I don't know, but you should ask our other good friend and partner, Adult Swim and Toonami. Like, they're fucking crazy, bro.
And don't forget as well that every other year they also throw in some original works too, right? Like Remain, like
Tact Op Destiny. Look, we shit on Tact Op Destiny, but at least they're doing it, right?
Buchigiri earlier this year,
Which I think was all right.
They'll be doing Zenshu in a couple months' time.
I don't even know what that is, by the way.
It literally just says upcoming original Japanese anime television series. That's it.
Woo!
They do have like some voice actor credits already written. That's yeah. So I guess like if we were to say their names, Natsuko Hirose, Luke Braveheart, Unio, Memein, and QJ. This is probably something video game related.
Oh, are you talking about Zenshu?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. It looks like Shiro Bako.
What?
Yeah, just Google Zenshu and look at the teaser trailer and tell me that does not give you Shiro Bako and Amagi Brilliant Park vibes, okay? And while Will looks at that I think it's like a 1-minute trailer or something.
Yeah, I'll watch it later.
Sure.
Yeah.
The point is, they're fucking all over the place, and in every single genre, and obviously with a lot of hype genres.
Oh, yeah, don't forget they also did campfire cooking too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot under their wheelhouse right now.
I think they're just gonna explode, or implode rather.
Dorohedoro, do we know it's going to be MAPPA?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
They announced it, but they didn't really say anything else more.
I don't think they can because they're working on so much shit right now. I mean, their whole 2025 is really going to be packed, right? If it's not just going to be Lazarus, it's probably going to be Zenshu, an original, second season of Hell's Paradise, second season of Campfire Cooking, and season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen, right? And that's not even factoring any of the movies that are to come out, which are Chainsaw Man, Rise Arc, Zombieland Saga, and The Rose of Versailles. That's 4 series and 3 movies.
Okay, a little bit of correction with Dorohedoro. It is not confirmed what studio. Oh, yeah, it's not confirmed what studio. But obviously, MAPPA was the last studio that touched season 1. So unless if they announce it, otherwise, I'm gonna assume it is MAPPA. Okay,
Fair assumption. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
so that's it. I mean, there's so much shit to do. And then when you get to that point in 2025 or whatever, you're just going to hear another like 8 or 9 projects at that point, and then 8 or 9 projects. Meanwhile, human beings' resources are finite and not immortal. And like, it's just crazy, man. Like the amount of work that they have to go through. And who is to say that they don't implode and then they kind of chill out like Madhouse did, then all of a sudden finds a Fier and Beyond Journey's End equivalent property, and then kind of has a resurgence after they clean themselves up.
Do you feel, and I know how I feel about it, but do you feel that MAPPA as a studio, especially within the landscape of anime production, it's a studio that unfortunately is too big to fail?
No.
You think that any studio is susceptible to failure regardless of how big they are?
Just look at Studio Madhouse, Manglobe. Just look at...
I wouldn't say Manglobe, but I can see with Madhouse. as you did mention, Madhouse didn't actually shut down. They just kind of lay dormant for a bit and then came
Okay,
out of the
when you mean by shut down, you mean like dissolved.
as in like they lose all of their like basically they have to hand off Hell's Paradise, or they hand off Jujutsu Kaisen.
I don't know about Jujutsu Kaisen, but I'm betting that they will hand off some properties away just to make ends meet, similar to what Wit Studio's doing. Whether it is because there's too much on their plate, or whether it's because they're hemorrhaging money and then selling it off would be able to fund their Jujutsu Kaisen season 6 or whatever, then yeah, sure. When you're saying that will they dissolve and become bankrupt and no more, I think that that's impossible because their properties in of themselves are worth so much. Okay, AOT is gone because it's over, right? But everything else, you can sell a lot of those properties, even cooking, campfire cooking, would still be a decent amount of money, or all of these like other properties would still be okay. And then obviously Vinland Saga even would be okay to sell away if that means that you can keep JJK alive, for example. Right? So I think they're too big to fail, but they're not too big to sell off their major properties to ensure their other properties continue on. That's how I feel. I think right now they're just having too much. They can't even make all the stuff that they're announced.
Yeah.
So what makes you think that like they're going to be in like a comfortable, healthy position in terms of work culture or in terms of like not imploding, and then one misstep, one financial misstep, it's game over. I mean, a lot of studios with lesser properties make one bad decision and their studio shuts down. And I think MAPPA is no different. It's just on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I think it's as you alluded to, the fact that they hold the best cards possible in shonen action, and therefore like the onus is on them to make sure those cards remain in their hands. But as we've seen with previous studios, especially studios that are pretty damn big as well, they're all susceptible to fluctuations in the market. They're all susceptible to instability in their workforce, and some of it very publicized already within MAPPA as well. But I also feel that like the world would be a really weird place if all of a sudden you just don't have a MAPPA anymore.
Yeah, I don't think there will not be a MAPPA. Just like how there is still a Madhouse despite a lot of changes since, I guess you would say, the quote-unquote glory days of Madhouse, where, you know, Yuasa, who did Studio Chizu? Hosoda, right? And Makoto Shinkai also came from Madhouse, I think, right? Obviously, rest in peace, Satoshi Kon was from Madhouse. All of these people, in of themselves, by themselves, by the way, if you just take each of those creators, also Watanabe, they are crazy, talented, profit-generating property directors, visionaries. But they were all under Madhouse. Then all of a sudden, they all split to do their own thing, and then Madhouse kind of had a restructuring. Then you look at MAPPA, which obviously came from, by the way, Studio Madhouse.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh, what about Park, who did JJK? Wait, where's he going? He's left, but JJK was so awesome. And there are so many of these other staff members that essentially pieced out to do their own thing. So to me, it's almost like poetic analogy parallel of the same thing. I know I'm beating the dead horse, but I really honestly think that they're both the same.
Like you can't escape your fate.
Exactly. And I don't mean this in like a cheeky way. I mean this in a literal factual way too. When I just look at the trends, I look at the similar trajectories.
So going forward, what can Madhouse and what can MAPPA do in order to steady the ship?
So here's the part that becomes kind of, I guess, quote unquote fun, because we don't know what the future holds, right?
Yeah.
My guess is they won't do much, because from the CEO's point of view, it seems very apparent that they think that they're fine.
And that they're going to continue running things on their own
and running things to the ground, as in running their staff to the ground.
Yeah. I know that you mentioned the Qeeo approach, in which that's what they're doing with Chainsaw Man, right? Qeeo Animation is famous for not only just producing beautiful works, but a lot of the times it's very much like the IP is theirs.
Yeah, and their own production committee is the Qeeo production committee, not whatever work production committee.
But at the same time, it's not just Qeeo on the board.
Correct.
Right?
That's why they call it the production committee and not Chainsaw Man, where it has no production committee. It's just MAPPA, right?
Like even fucking Qeeo does not dare to be that risky.
Exactly.
They need to have people under the company who specialize in specific things.
But the problem is, the difference is they are specialized, but they're under the Qeeo umbrella versus MAPPA with no one.
That's I suppose one thing that MAPPA can do to try and steady the ship. In that, this is always going to be fun to tell people to remove their ego from their business acumen, but like calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
And I know you said it's a success.
Have a Kit Kat.
Yeah, have a Kit Kat, dude. Take a break.
Yeah.
Just break one off and enjoy a Kit Kat. Like, legitimately, nobody is going to fault you if you decide to bring in specialists to work with you. You can helm the project. Absolutely. You deserve it, right? You've done a great job with your Chainsaw Man. Don't come at us when you say it's not making enough money, even though it was a commercial success.
Or at least you're saying it's a commercial success. If it's not, then that's different, but at least you're saying that it was, okay?
Yeah.
And you can't prove it because you don't want to show us the numbers. Fine.
Yeah. So, just take a leaf out of their book, out of Qeeo's book. Have people in place to ensure that you are not the only company that bears full responsibility, because that trickles down all the way from the CEO to the directors to the team managers down to every single freelance and contract worker that they have on the books too, or off the books, because that's how freelancing and contracting works.
Paid under the table. That's just the way. Paying cash, right? That's the way things are.
Yeah. Now, the other issue when it comes to MAPPA would be the amount of overwork that they have. And I was just reading this Reddit chain on Chainsaw Man where like they were talking about like, oh, so let's discuss this whole Chainsaw Man like major impact and financial success on the future of the studio. And then one person's like, oh, well, it's good to see. And in short, MAPPA owns 100% of Chainsaw Man instead of the usual approach of being contracted by other companies who hold the IP, has been paying them off for them. So they can make good money off of it. And then one person says, does this mean the employees get to see their families again? Now, hold up a minute, buddy. Don't be rash.
Hey.
Let's not
listen,
get too hasty here.
Listen, hey.
Choto mate, motherfucker.
Choto mate, motherfucker.
It's like, I know where you're trying to go with this, but that shit does not happen here, right?
Yeah.
We don't do that around here.
Whoa. Around these parts, we're MAPPA. Yeah. We don't do any of that crazy stuff that you mentioned.
I just want to see some like twiddle-dee-twiddle-dum fucking like southern shit going down in MAPPA. It's like, welcome to MAPPA Studio. We're going to be talking about Chainsaw Man. We're going to be talking about Gymnastic Samurai.
You know that Dorohedoro? You like that gyoza, son?
Is that too many syllables for you? Well, I got you better. I got Dororo.
Yeah.
Forget the have to forget the dough. Just Dororo.
Okay, well, I'm about to say something that would be the dumbest thing, but I think it's in the realm of possibility. They will go to Madhouse for help.
I mean, they already did that once.
I think the Tapped Out Destiny thing was a little bit of a one-off in the grand scheme of things, but I think going forward, it is very conceivable to me that with Madhouse coming on the up and up, because... And this I have like tangential evidence, right? Right now on their docket, in terms of like their slate, I would say their output versus like the amount of work that they have is fairly balanced in the grand scheme of things compared to what it was, Madhouse. I mean, back then, as you said, it was just like crazy amount of productions that MAPPA's going
productions in one go, but now it's like they've got a couple things here and there. But some of them will be getting some support. Like, for example, what was that one that they're doing? It's not an original. It is, what you call it?
What's it about?
Hold on, let me find it.
Okay.
I'm sure. One Dance.
Yes,
that one's going to be co-animated with Cyclone graphics. But everything else before that...
Graphinica. Is it Cyclone Graphics or Graphinica?
Cyclone Graphics.
Okay, Cyclone Graphics. Okay.
Yeah. But before that, or solely on their own, Trillion Games solo, Freehead and solo. Yeah. The only thing in the within this decade of the 2020s that has been co-animated is Tactic Destiny with MAPPA.
Yeah, and I think, listen, regardless, MAPPA has been there for a while. Madhouse has also been there even longer, and MAPPA came from Madhouse. So they combine and make MAP. And when they their tagline is X marks the spot, bitches. Okay, joking aside, I really do think that they would get help from Madhouse because they've not only done that before, but because Madhouse, believe it or not, in my opinion, has a lot of connections and expertise in the anime industry because of their legacy and their existence over decades.
What would MAP stand for? Madhouse Arises Production?
No, it has to have MAPPA in it too.
So Maruyama
No, because he's now the chairperson. So he no, it has to be like the M has to stand for MAPPA and Madhouse.
I don't think that's too crazy. Well, I don't know.
Because if you think about it, right?
I mean, of course, the history
Yeah.
and the connection will always be there.
Yeah, but let's also take a step back and look at MAPPA's catalog, right? With the slate of IPs that they have. I don't think they would let that go easily. Unless if they're hemorrhaging money or they're in desperate need, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
They have just so happened.
I mean, the fact that they took Attack on Titan and are about to see it to fruition.
Yeah.
The fact that they took Vinland Saga and they're dilly-dallying about it, but season 2 was still really good. They're not going to give up
JJK.
Oh, they're definitely not giving up Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. They have the Infinity Gauntlet right now shown in action, right? With the exception of maybe Demon Slayer.
I love that you're calling fucking MAPPA Thanos. It's amazing. We'll just wipe out half of the animation studios so we can hold all the Infinity Stones on our side.
I mean, that's really what they're doing.
Yeah, they are doing that.
And they don't want to give it away. So what do? You ask your bigger brother, who is just chilling and that it's just coming back home, to be like, listen, bro.
I'm just imagining like they're from the boonies of like northern Japan, and then Mappa's like, I'm gonna go make it on my own. They go down with the big city boys of Tokyo and they make it big, and then one day they slowly come back home a little downtrodden to a family reunion, and it's like, Oni-san, I need your help. And then the guy's just sitting back chilling with like a fern. It's like, well.
No.
How nice to see you out here in the boonies of Japan.
I think it's even more tragic. You ready for this?
They meet at a funeral.
No. They go back, to the rural hometown, whatever MAPPA and Madhouse's hometown is, right? And then Madhouse is just chilling, just reading the newspaper. Then MAPPA comes in with like phones off the hook, being like on call. There's a secretary and a stenographer that follows him 24/7, and
whilst the secretary is actually carrying their child
exactly
because they can't raise the baby at home.
And then they're sending Morse codes and emails. There's a computer attached to the guy like typing of the dead, and then Madhouse is just like, whoa, what's going on? And then fast forward to like 2 a.m. MAPPA manages to get a 5-minute break. And then he just stares into the eyes of Madhouse and goes, I'm okay. And then Madhouse goes, I don't think so. I'm going to help you out.
Do you know what's crazy, actually?
What?
So, we talked about how MAPPA was
Sorry I went on that spiel. I just really think that's analogous, though.
But I do like that because of the fact that MAPPA was born out of Madhouse.
Yes.
Right? And Madhouse was born out of Mushi Productions.
Yes.
That was run from 1961 through 1973.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was a series that released in 1968
called
Dororo.
Okay.
And guess who did the rebooted Dororo?
MAPPA. Madhouse.
It's all no. It's.
I thought it was MAPPA.
It's MAPPA.
Yeah, it is MAPPA.
It just comes full circle.
Yeah, I know.
You can never escape your fates.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The whole point of this episode is to say that MAPPA is going to be Madhouse 2.0.
You're never going to be. You can never outrun your destiny.
Madhouse 1.0 is now 2.0, but MAPPA is basically being Madhouse 1.0. That's my thesis in all of this.
And also Mushi Pro did Astro Boy. Nothing big, right?
No, nothing at all. I mean, it's fine, right?
It's just the first anime of all time.
Exactly. So, look, at the end of the day, in conclusion, because Will and I are kind of riffing at this point, MAPPA is a studio that is making impeccable quality when it comes to anime. But behind that facade, if you will, of sorts, you will uncover a lot of controversial and unfortunate circumstances that has led up to their success.
Now, let's also be clear on this as well. None of what they're doing is, per se, illegal.
Yes.
Right?
This is not a UFO table tax evasion in some maid cafe type of shit.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a real thing,
Yes.
what I just said.
Yes. But does it mean it's not a bad thing? Absolutely not, right? Underpaying your staff, overworking your staff, calling out to people that your production company needs more money because, if you want to see more Chainsaw Man or you want to
holding him you're holding Chainsaw Man hostage, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that MAPPA is too big to fail. But at the same time, it's not good when the government bails out banks because they're too big to fail. And along the same lines, MAPPA is too big to fail. But on the other hand, it's that doesn't mean that you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, when your own internal staff is very publicly criticizing how fucked up the culture is, how fucked up the output is. And I don't know if you can afford to maybe ease off the brakes a bit. But I would like to at least see you try, and then maybe if it doesn't work out, then you can reassess, I guess. But I just can't look at this from an outsider's point of view and see that this would be a healthy way of continuing, because it can only end in misery when you get that close to the sun.
I think the only thing that would normalize the landscape is essentially, and of course, this is a completely...
Speculation?
A complete utopia.
Yes,
and
yes.
And you know how utopias go. Most of the time, they are anything but a utopia.
I mean, listen, science fiction and cyberpunk has taught us all that, yes.
Right? But it would not be crazy to see the level of big name properties like the Chainsaw Man-esque stuff, like the Hell's Paradise-esque stuff, AOT stuff, and have it a bit more spread across. Where you had
when you mean by spread across, what do you mean?
Where you had studios like Wit, A1 Pictures, Cloverworks, UFO Table, Bones. You had Madhouse, MAPPA, and all of them having one or two big properties, and Wit as well in there, right?
Yeah.
Rather than fucking MAPPA having 6 of them in one roof, and everybody else we have My Hero Academia. That shit's dying soon, man. Stop living on the past, man.
Dude. What happens if MAPPA goes back to its studio and is like, hey, can you have Vinland Saga back?
I would love that. It would be I would absolutely. Okay, look, MAPPA did a good job with season 2. Their opening is also super awesome too. I listened to it.
I love Anonymous. I said River by Anonymous, I think is the name of the song.
So, but
yeah.
I mean, goddamn, it would be fucking hilarious if they were like, "Yo, thanks for the
Thanks for the transaction, but can you have it back?
Yeah, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'll scratch yours. Here, take it back. Come on, take it back. I would be fucking poetic if Wit was to get back Attack on Titan.
Vinland Saga.
Yeah,
though.
Vinland Saga.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll be honest, they won't do that. They will actually give it to Madhouse first. That would be my guess, because they have control there to a certain degree with Madhouse. That's honestly that they would do that before they do it to Wit Studio or others.
Yeah, it's just weird to see Wit Studio in this kind of shape too. The fact that really the main things you can say they have right now is
Spy X Family, but I think they're doing fine, right?
They're doing well.
I mean, they also have that Kickstarter stuff that's been getting traction, whether we think it's massive or not, right?
I mean, they did well with Ranking of Kings, Vivi, Vinland Saga season 1. Nokotan's doing pretty well right now. Not so much for Suicide Squad Isekai.
But at least they're trying.
And then they got The Sense of a Bookworm. That's not really a needle mover, but you know it's going to be fine.
Yeah. and they're gonna do fine.
Yeah.
So
That is a weird one for them to take, actually.
yeah. Also, like the Grim Variations, man, that was a dud.
Yeah. So
But don't forget, they're holding out for One Piece. So who knows?
That is true.
I think One Piece. I think that's why they're kind of easing off the workload, is mainly due to One Piece. That's my guess.
You say that though, but they also have 270 employees.
Well, yeah,
which is pretty sizable for a studio that only makes two works a year.
that's almost 3 times the size of Madhouse.
But they also make a quarter of what JC's staff does. They have more employees.
Maybe they're just efficient.
Yeah, maybe, or it might just be the fact that they're also balancing out the amount of people who work on movies, who work on TV series, who work on ONAs and stuff like that.
Maybe they just have a better, healthier work culture.
Yeah, that's actually...
That just might...
I was just like, why are they not working? There's so many people, but they're not working on more... Make more stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was just giving MAPPA shit for overworking stuff, and now I'm telling Wit Studio to do more work. Oh, my God. Why am I contradicting myself?
So, on that note, that we're going to stop working on this episode of the Good Anime Palette podcast.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to end. But like just as like a final thought.
Yeah. Let's do that before I get into show notes.
None of us really are hating on MAPPA because MAPPA has, in a short time, let's be real, 13 years is not a long time.
Yes.
At all.
It is not.
And to be able to have like 4 or 5, even 6 of the biggest properties of all time in the shonen action sphere.
And excluding those, the stuff that you have already done is still really good too.
And all to be very successful as well. It's very... Dude, we've seen what the fuck happened with JC's staff on One Punch Man. That shit did not work out.
Yeah,
right?
MAPPA can literally do so many different genres. Yeah, you can say Remain was a dud. You can say a lot of other examples of MAPPA was a dud. But still, they were able to do everything from Yasuke, despite how we might feel about Yasuke. They still did everything from that to Dance Dance Dancer to JJK. I mean, the genres is just mind-blowing. They're pretty much unstoppable in terms of what they can do.
And every major studio that even touches shonen action usually has 1 at most 2, right? A1 Pictures with Sword Art Online.
And Mashal.
David Productions with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
And that's it, by the way.
Bones with My Hero Academia, and that's about to be done, right?
Yep. Shaft with Monogatari, and that's it, for the most part.
Whereas MAPPA, you legitimately hold the nuclear codes. You run the world.
Yeah.
So don't fuck up, right?
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
Easier said than done.
Until you have your CEO coming out and say, yeah, no, we're good, but like we're on the verge of breaking up and fucking things up. But hey, no, we're fine, we're good. Don't worry about it. Give us more money, but we're good. You know?
Yeah, just don't worry about UFO Table. They just really into maid cafes and tax evasion, but they just still do good work. But hey, ignore them. You need to do better, audience.
Yeah.
So, on that note, dear audience, dear listeners, thank you for listening to this episode of the Good Anime Palette podcast. If you want to, we greatly appreciate you leaving a ratings or review on your podcast listening platform of choice. You can contact us using the email gapalette@gmail.com, GAPALETTE, all lowercase, all one word. Using the handle @PaletteGood, that's capital P and capital G, all one word. The rest of our social media links are in the show description, including our Discord link server. We have a website. We encourage you to check it out, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Married to the Light by oomiee. Our break music is Green Summer Waves by Qeeo. And our outro music is Weeping by Cushy. You can support the music artists that we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or your music listening platform of choice. Epidemic Sound provides all of our royalty-free music. If you're interested, you can sign up using our referral link in the show description. Terms and conditions apply. Damn.
I vented a lot. I needed to get a lot off my chest.
No, I mean, I get it. In fact, if anything, like, I went through those stages of grief already while I was designing this docket. So I'm not surprised that you feel the way that you felt, because I think a lot of people do. I think if you go on these forums and you go on all of these other podcasts that mention MAPPA and Madhouse, or just MAPPA in general, you would get similar sentiments.
Yeah, but you also get a lot of people on Reddit and on like any sort of forums that say like, well, they're not the only studio to overwork people.
Yes, you're right. whoever you are.
But it's also like, yeah, well then back it up. Like, give us some evidence in terms of like, oh, well, like, which studio have been, Ufotable have been, tried for financial crimes before in terms of like money laundering or tax evasion and stuff like that. It's like, okay, fine, yeah, but again,
like that's not good too.
If you just go from pointing fingers to pointing fingers again, then like we're just revolving in a circle of not solving any issues.
Exactly.
In the industry.
And I think the issue with MAPPA is that they are so big of a conglomerate, also so big of holding so many valuable IPs, that it becomes this very delicate situation when you also add in all the trials and tribulations that comes with overproduction and underpaid and undertrained staff, because that is a ticking time bomb. And it's just terrible.
I mean, speaking of time bombs and all that, do you feel that the future success of Chainsaw Man is very much dependent on the Reze movie?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think guaranteed. I think if the Reze movie does not work, there's a very good chance that we will not see Chainsaw Man, period.
It'd be a pretty good way to go out. Just end off with Reze.
I mean, that's the arc that I care about the most, even though the rest of part 1 is really good, but that's the part I care about the most.
I mean, the final chapters of Chainsaw Man are fucking insane. I would love to see that in action, but we have no idea if it's going to come out.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think that like the MAPPA situation is such a big problem that no one really wants to talk about and no one really wants to tackle.
No one wants to, because they hold the best properties that everybody loves. So of course you don't want to talk shit about it, but someone has to. Because it's a real problem. If you legitimately give someone your house, you don't want to come back and see the house is on fire because they couldn't manage it properly.
I also feel like MAPPA themselves are kind of in a denial state, because they think I think to at least with upper management, they think everything is fine or everything is normal because the ill treatment is just par for the course.
Do you think it's just a matter of just them huffing too much copium?
Yes.
They're just looking at it. It's like, we don't have a problem. What are you talking about?
No, I think it's very simple.
Look at how much money we've made.
I just think it's very simple. They just have to say 3 words. Oh no, actually 4 words. But we are MAPPA.
We are MAPPA, yeah, for sure.
Or if you want to say 5 words, but we are Studio MAPPA.
Yeah.
And then they think that because of that, it's impossible for them to fail. And that kind of ego and
negligence, maybe?
Yeah, and was it naivete?
Naivete
is going to fall flat, and it's so dumb to me when there is a clear example of your half-kin brother, Madhouse, that almost went through the exact same thing, and you think that you are any different.
Oh, and Madhouse barely made it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to see that they're fine and healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, granted, like, I loved what they were doing in, like, the late 2000s, 2015s.
And I still like Overlord a lot, too.
Yeah. Like, but I also, like, don't want to take it for granted either. I don't want to be like, no, keep making this shit until you die. No, like, because once it's gone, like, it's gone.
Yeah.
So now that I'm happy that, like, if they didn't make it alive out of that situation from 2009, 2015, there'd be no Freelance.
Yeah. And let's just end on this note, is that of all of the criticisms and all of like the things that we have said about Studio MAPPA, you have to understand that Will and I comes from a place where we don't want MAPPA to fail. We don't want them to fall apart. Despite all of the negative things that surround MAPPA, we also acknowledge that MAPPA does great things. But it is impossible to ignore all of the flaws or pretend they don't exist or pretend that you're heading towards a cliff when that's where you're heading towards.
Yeah. I would gladly take a Chainsaw Man here and a Hell's Paradise there, as opposed to in 1 year getting movies for Chainsaw Man, for Attack on Titan, for Hell's Paradise, and then also getting sequels for Campfire Cooking in Another World.
And let me tell you that when that happens, if that happens, there will be no Studio MAPPA.
Well, it's happening right now.
I know. And I'm telling you, there will be no Studio MAPPA if this continues. It's just impossible.
I think like the next thing then would be laying flat in terms of or yeah, like legitimately, like the animators would just be like, if you're gonna continue undercutting us, if you're gonna continue making us work so many cuts per year,
they'll walk out. That's it. That's the end of the story. And then they're really screwed.
Or the worst is they get hospitalized. whether it be because of mental or physical pain or worse.
I mean, that has already happened.
Right?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, keep safe, keep healthy, and sometimes, as much as we like to have more and more awesome anime, at the end of the day, we're okay with more awesome things.
There are people that spend time making the shit that you love, so don't take this shit for granted.
And whenever that there is a good stuff that's out there, always remember that a lot of people had to put fucking work behind it to make it happen.
Yeah.
And on that note, these two people that are now talking into the microphone needs to go to dinner and have other commitments, but we will not forget all of you, dear listeners, the next time we come back on and wax lyrical about anime and manga. So for right now, I'm Jason signing off. Will, anything parting thoughts you want to say about MAPPA and Madhouse?
Signing off on my side as well.
Yo.